With over 500,000 sales on the board since its debut in 2010, the Audi A1 has firmly established itself as the ultimate supermini, the essence of democratic downsizing. This updated version is smarter, more efficient and better equipped, and remains a seductive package for small car buyers.
What if you really could distill the essence of a large luxury car into a smaller, more affordable one? Many brands have promised us this, but in reality, only one model has actually delivered it. This car, Audi's A1. You don't expect to see a badge like this in the supermini segment, or a car of this quality. Though Audi's two key rivals, BMW and Mercedes, do make very compact small models, they do so using separate brands. BMW with Mini and Mercedes with Smart. The A1 though is unashamedly an Audi, thoroughly imbued with Vorsprung, durch, technic, and pretty much all the quality you'd get with one of the company's larger vehicles. It took the Ingolstadt maker quite a while to figure out how to manage this in a small car at prices not too far removed from the supermini norm. The company's first attempt, the Audi 50 of 1974, wasn't different enough from the Mark I model Volkswagen Polo it was based on. In contrast, the high-tech, aluminium-bodied Audi A2 of 2000 was too much of a departure from convention, quirky and overcomplicated. All buyers really wanted was something much more straightforward, a small car with an expensive feel. It could share mechanical parts with lesser Volkswagen Group models, but it needed to be properly premium, the way this model is. The opportunity to create it finally arrived in 2009 with the launch of Volkswagen's fifth generation Polo. Here at last was the perfect platform from which to build a really credible entry-level Audi. And sure enough, the first three-door production A1 models were launched a year later. A five-door Sportback version was added to the range in 2011, and from then on, the brand took every opportunity to emphasise its smallest model's technological superiority over every other supermini-sized competitor. You simply don't expect to find things like 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission or cylinder-on-demand technology in this class of car, or the option of a hot hatch version with four-wheel drive and as much as 231 PS beneath the bonnet. By 2014 though, it was time to update the strong-selling A1 package with smarter looks, greater efficiency and extra equipment. Have the changes further established this car as the ultimate choice in this segment? Time to find out. You may, like us, have certain expectations when it comes to driving this car. After all, it's based on the Volkswagen Polo, isn't it? Which means it'll ride well and feel very competent, but really lack a bit of fizz. Not the sort of supermini you take out for a drive just for the fun of it. Sometimes, though, it's refreshing to be proven wrong. No, there isn't the go-kart chuckability you get from the start in a Mini, but it's a genuine surprise just how talented the chassis is once you start to press on a bit. And unlike a Mini, this Audi doesn't force its sporty pretensions on you when you simply aren't in the mood, when it's pouring down with rain, the road ahead's festooned with speed humps, and you just wish you were in something bigger and more comfortable. In an A1, you feel as if you are, this car offering an air of refinement and sophistication that's still unmatched in this class. There's no magic formula here, just sound basics from a very well-developed Polo platform. That's been matched to a sophisticated range of engines. I've been trying what is arguably the best all-round choice as part of this test, a 1.6-litre TDI diesel with power raised from 105 to 116 PS in this revised model. That's enough to see you to 62 miles per hour in 9.4 seconds en route to 124 miles an hour. This power plant is probably the one you'll look at first if you're an A1 buyer seeking to match parsimony with pace, but in this regard there is another option. For much the same sort of money that you'd pay for a top S-line spec 1.6 TDI model, your Audi Centre can also offer you the cleverest petrol version of this car, a 1.4 TFSI variant with COD or cylinder-on-demand technology. Here you really do get an advanced slice of Vorsprung durch technic, thanks to an upgraded 150 PS engine that under low load can seamlessly switch to using only 2 of its 4 cylinders, so making possible the potential of nearly 60 miles per gallon combined cycle fuel economy. That's not something you'd expect from a car able to get to 62 miles per hour in just 7.8 seconds en route to 134 miles an hour. It'll further underline a preference for petrol power amongst A1 buyers, which already see the 2 best-selling variants drink from the green pump. Both use turbocharged TFSI engines, and the most interesting of the pair is the least expensive 1-litre unit. Replacing the old 4-cylinder 1.2, this is Audi's very first 3-cylinder power plant, and it's a good one, with 95 PS on tap. That's enough for more performance than you expect from a car boasting a modest 160 Newton meters of torque. You have to keep the unit spinning at over 1500 RPM to make meaningful progress, but as long as you do, it's a reasonably perky companion. 62 miles an hour is 11.1 seconds away from rest on the way to 116 miles an hour. And if you gun the engine like this, your progress will be accompanied by a brilliant raspy thrum that makes you feel like you're going a lot faster than you really are. The other mainstream option is another petrol 1.4, this one more conventional than its cylinder-on-demand stablemate, and putting out a more modest 125 PS output. That's good enough to see you to 62 miles an hour in just under 9 seconds on the way to a top speed of just under 130 miles an hour. 1.4-litre A1s get a reasonably slick shifting 6-speed manual gearbox, but if you opt for either the 1-litre petrol or the 1.6-litre TDI diesel, you'll have to make do with only 5 ratios. For many potential owners, the difference is academic, as they'll be ticking the box for the optional 7-speed dual-clutch S-tronic transmission, one of those automatic gearbox clever enough to select the next gear even before you'd left the last one. You get the S-tronic option across the A1 range, except on the variant you'd think would be most likely to have it, the priciest one. The flagship A1 status is occupied by the S1 Quattro hot hatch model, but this version couldn't cope with the extra 25 kilos that trick transmission would have shoved over its nose. So its prodigious, class-leading 231 PS output must be marshalled by a more conventional 6-speed stick shifter. You'll certainly need to be pretty quick at grabbing for gears, because this car will demolish the sprint to 62 miles an hour in under 6 seconds. That's about a second quicker than something comparably sized like a Ford Fiesta ST, a Peugeot 208 GTI or a Mini Cooper S, and about half a second quicker than something larger like a Golf GTI. In the dry, of course. In the wet, thanks to the S1's Quattro 4-wheel drive system, none of the cars I've just mentioned would even see which way the Audi went. You don't need to stretch to the pricey S1 model though to get an A1 you can really enjoy behind the wheel. True, this Audi doesn't deliver the eager go-kart style feel you get from a Mini, but it's still a world removed from the unremarkable driving experience served up by this car's Volkswagen Polo cousin. Even a humbler variant like the one I'm trying here feels accurate and responsive, particularly if you have a version fitted with Audi's Drive Select system, operable via this dash-mounted button here. Via 3 settings, efficiency, auto and dynamic, this setup allows you to tweak throttle response, steering feel and, on S-tronic models, gear shift timings to suit the way you want to drive. Opt for the extra cost adjustable dampers, and via these settings you can tailor the suspension setup to the road you're on too. If you are going to drive like this, one of the things you're likely to notice is just how sure-footed this little A1 feels powering out of sharp turns. It turns out there's a reason for this, a torque vectoring system that imperceptibly brakes your wheels on the inside of a curve. When power is applied, the excess torque then flows to the outer wheel, which helps to maximise traction and makes the car steer through the bend more precisely. What we'd counsel against is getting carried away by all this sporting potential when ordering your A1 with huge 17 or 18-inch wheels, or even worse, stiff sport suspension. The latter being a feature that fortunately you can now deselect from the plusher Sport and S-line trim levels. Over-firm damping and huge alloys will both put paid to one of these cars' biggest attributes, its ride quality. You especially notice this on highway journeys where the A1 reveals itself to be a far better long-distance prospect than any supermini rival. You'd certainly prefer it to a Mini. But of course you'll mainly be using this Audi around town where this car comes into its own. Whichever version you choose in an urban environment, the light controls, well-assisted steering, dinky dimensions, tight turning circle and decent all-round visibility mean it's simple to drive, simple to use and simple to park. The perfect shopping car indeed for someone who wants to leave something larger and more expensive tucked safely away at home in the garage. This is exactly how you'd expect a miniature Audi to look. Yet the styling of this car also gives the A1 a bit of its own personality. It's more than merely a scaled-down version of the larger A3. Forget all that retro stuff you'd find on a Mini or a Fiat 500. The Ingolstadt brand has no patience with any of that. This is all far more sophisticated, with a TT-style roofline guaranteeing coupe-style looks, and lines that flow seamlessly from the angry-looking headlamps with their optional LED running lights down the side of the car into the boot lid. The Polo parentage isn't obvious. The wheels set more widely apart, the body riding a little lower. It's all neat, confident and very classy, especially if you opt for the roof hoops you can specify in contrasting colours. Those wanting an even more vibrant look can get one from the options list. As for the changes made to this improved version, well, you need to be very familiar indeed with the A1 model range to notice them. The enhancements mostly centre upon a front end featuring revisions to the air intakes and the fog lights, as well as revised bumpers with more powerful contours that make this car 19mm longer than the original design. More overt are the updates made to the wider, more distinctive single-frame front grille that's flanked by restyled headlights, now able to incorporate high-tech Xenon Plus technology. In profile, it's obviously much easier to pick up the differences between the 3- and 5-door body shapes. The dome-shaped roofline styled differently in each case to define the car's silhouette. The larger Sportback model has 6mm more width and height, has a B-pillar located 23cm further back, and has a roofline that's 80mm longer to facilitate headroom in the rear. With both models though, the detailing remains sharp, with now sleeker mirrors mounted onto the doors and a bonnet that wraps neatly over the top area of the front wing. Its seam visually extended by what Audi calls a tornado line, a crease running over the doors and the side panels to form a continuous shoulder line. It's complemented by a second lower crease that gently rises from front to rear. The subtly restyled tailgate lamps are another beautifully crafted part of this car. If Xenon headlamps have been fitted, the tail lamps are made up of 54 super red LEDs, emitting an intense deep red colour. But of course, other drivers won't be able to see them at night when the hatch is raised, so when that's up, these extra lights on the back of the C-pillars illuminate for improved roadside safety. The loading lip is a comfortably low 66cm, and once you get your stuff above it, you'll find a 270-litre boot that, a little disappointingly, is the same size whether you choose your A1 with 3 or 5 doors. True, that's not huge, but it is par for the course in the super mini segment, and much more than you get from a 3-door mini hatch. Plus, you can make very good use of the space on offer if you pay extra for an optional luggage package, which featured divided storage compartments under the loading floor to prevent your bottles of Coke scrambling your eggs on the way home. If you do need extra room and can fold down the split folding back seat, a process that doesn't require removal of the headrests, then up to 920 litres of space is available. It's exactly the same in the 5-door Sportback variant. Time to move inside. Enter in through the long doors and you'll discover what you probably would have expected to find: the smartest cabin in the class, now enhanced on most versions of this improved model with extra chrome and high gloss black detailing. There's a centre console that's supposed to be styled like a ship's stern, and a dash apparently modelled on the shape of an aircraft wing. The fascia section is decorated with large circular air vents designed to resemble jet engines, and which buyers can trim in personalisable colours with that gloss black finish again here. It all sounds very daring and avant-garde, but in reality, the finished result is actually quite conservative. You could be in any of Audi's larger models, with exemplary build quality and a delightful finish to everything you see and touch that's a world away from what you'd find in a Mini. The knurled metal heater controls are particularly smart, and above these you might expect to find the kind of centre dash colour infotainment display that's becoming increasingly common in modern superminis. But instead, in an upmarket touch, this is secreted away in a fold-out panel on top of the fascia. It doesn't glide up electrically as it would on one of Audi's larger models, but it's still one of the features that makes this cabin feel like that of a much more luxurious car, as does the functionality of the 6.5-inch MMI screen. Tick the right options boxes and via this, thanks to Audi Connect technology, you can do everything from updating your Facebook page to checking the news and local fuel prices. You can plan your journey using Google Earth, check out traffic information online, log into thousands of global radio stations and create in your car a Wi-Fi hotspot. Truly, this is motoring in the 21st century. With height adjustment for the very comfortable seat and height and reach adjustment for the grippy 3-spoke wheel, it's easy to get comfortable. Once you view the usual crystal clear set of Audi instruments, the two cool white illuminated main dials separated on most models by a driver information system that delivers various trip computer readouts as well as efficiency data. As for interior stowage space for smaller items, well, the door pockets remain as small as they always were, but you do get a decently sized glove box, the usual cup holders and a storage area in front of them with coin slots. There's also an extra cost folding centre armrest with a concealed compartment. In fact, you have to pay extra for quite a few of the interior storage features available on this car. Things like a fold-out compartment under the driver's seat, storage pockets in the backs of the front seats, a net in the front passenger footwell, plus 3 cup holders and a tray for rear seat occupants. Talking of rear seat occupants, access into the back of this 3-door model is pretty easy, and though there's less space back here than you'd find in some of today's larger conventional superminis, by Mini or Alfa Mito standards, this A1 is pretty practical for 4 adults. Thanks to the coupe-style roofline, there better not be over 6 foot though. Access to the rear in this Sportback variant is obviously aided by that longer roofline I mentioned earlier. But you shouldn't get your hopes up too high with regard to the potential space inside. This is, after all, still a super mini, measuring under 4 metres in length, and the wheelbase of this 5-door body style remains unchanged from that of the 3-door. Still, the designers have certainly made the most of the space available. And thanks not only to that extended roofline, but also to these scalloped cutouts indented into the headlining, there's more headroom than you might be expecting here. 11mm more than you get in the 3-door variant, and 13mm more shoulder room too. Even so, this still isn't what you call spacious. As standard, all A1 Sportbacks get what Audi ambitiously calls a 3-person back seat, complete with a trio of 3-point belts, though the A1 3-door model's 2-seat bench is optional on some models. The bottom line, though, is that expecting to get 3 adults into this car for any length of time is a bit ambitious, thanks to the restricted width and a bulky central transmission tunnel that seems a bit superfluous in a front-wheel drive car. 3 kids will be fine, though. Expect to pay somewhere in the £14,500 to £20,000 bracket for your Audi A1, depending on the version you go for and the options you choose. Inevitably, of course, the hot hatch S1 Quattro model is far pricier, the budget required here being just over £25,000. There's a premium of just over £600 if you want to trade up from the 3-door to the 5-door Sportback body style. Most models also offer the option of S-tronic automatic transmission too, for a premium of around £1,500. As for engine choice, well, if you want a petrol-engined A1 and you don't want to spend nearly £17,000, you're limited to the little entry-level 1-litre TFSI unit. But that'll be no hardship unless you're covering larger mileages. Insist that your dealer allows you to try this clever 3-cylinder power plant first before getting you into one of the pokier 1.4-litre petrol models. That'll cost you much more, as they can't be ordered with entry-level trim. The 1.6-litre TDI diesel version can be, which makes it look a lot of car for around £16,000. If you must have a 1.4-litre TFSI petrol model and you're looking at the top sporty S-Line trim package we've been trying here, then it's probably worth finding the £800 premium Audi asks for its more powerful yet also more efficient cylinder on-demand technology. Just be aware that the 1.4 TFSI COD S-Line model in question requires a hefty £20,000 budget. On to the value proposition all of that represents. You'll be assuming that an A1 will cost you more than an ordinary mainstream badge supermini, say a Fiesta or a Corsa. And to some extent that is of course true. You'll get bigger discounts from the volume brands, of course, and they offer lower tech, more feebly powered petrol and diesel variants that inevitably look much cheaper. Compare like with like though, say the A1 1-litre TFSI entry-level model against supermini rivals with the same 3-cylinder turbo petrol technology, and the story's a little different. A Volkswagen Polo Blue Motion 1-litre TSI with exactly the same 95 PS engine will actually cost you more than Audi is asking here. And you wouldn't save much against the A1 by opting for directly comparable superminis like Ford's Fiesta 1-litre EcoBoost or Vauxhall's Corsa 1-litre direct injection turbo. Surprised? I was. In reality though, few real-life A1 buyers tend to have volume brand alternatives on their shopping lists. These are people wanting something a bit nicer than that. They'd maybe like a prestigiously badged compact hatch like BMW's 1 Series, the Mercedes A-Class or Audi's own A3, but they don't necessarily need something Focus-sized, and they don't want to pay over £20,000 for it. For them, this sportier, more compact and more affordable little A1 might well be just about perfect. And it's a formula that isn't really replicated in quite the same way by any other brand. If you do want an option to compare against, then 3- and 5-door versions of the Mini hatch most obviously provide it. Cars that in coupe form look good value against 1.4-litre petrol-powered A1s. 3-door versions of the Mini will give you a much smaller boot though, and in Coupe D diesel guise, the BMW-made product will set you back over £1,000 more than the direct A1 1.6 TDI alternative. At petrol entry level, Audi also holds the advantage. An A1 1-litre TFSI priced directly against the comparable Mini 1, yet proving to be significantly less costly to run. Are there other direct alternatives? Well, not many if you want either a premium badge or a premium feel as part of the deal with your small compact hatch. Alfa Romeo's Mito and Citroen's DS3 are both possible options. A Mito with 2-cylinder twin-air power is a decent and slightly cheaper, though much noisier alternative to an A1 1-litre TFSI. The main issue, though, is that neither Alfa or Citroen will offer you a 5-door body style. And incidentally, if you want a Mito or DS3 diesel variant able to match the performance of a 1.6 TDI, then you'll need to find £2,000 to £3,000 more for it. If, having considered all of this, you conclude that it is an A1 that you really want, then you're going to need to know just how generous Audi has been with the standard spec. And the answer is that most of the main features you'll need are included. So even with baseline SE trim, you get alloy wheels of at least 15 inches in size, plus heat insulating glass, powered front windows and mirrors, remote locking and a Thatcham Category 1 alarm. Inside you'll find air conditioning, a 3-spoke sports steering wheel and a height-adjustable driver's seat. Most importantly, perhaps, there's a 6.5-inch MMI infotainment display screen from which you can access a DAB radio, a 6-speaker CD stereo system and connect in via an aux-in socket or an SD card reader. Is it worth finding the extra couple of thousand to graduate from this level to mid-range sport trim? Perhaps. This is after all the point from which 1.4 litre petrol and 1.6 litre diesel A1 buyers get the desirable Audi Drive Select system that enables you to tweak the throttle response and steering feel to suit the mood you're in and the road you're on. Gear change timings too, if you've opted to pay extra for S-tronic auto transmission. Sport trim also gets you front fog lights, larger 16-inch wheels and polished tailpipes. Inside, the interior is lifted with various aluminium highlights and gloss black trim for the air vents. Plus, you'll be entitled to a leather-trimmed multifunction steering wheel, sports seats, a driver information system trip computer and Bluetooth compatibility for your phone. Sport spec A1s also feature firmer sport suspension, but a word with your Audi salesperson will see you able to deselect this feature if you wish, in favour of the standard, softer, dynamic setup that's far better suited to our appalling roads. We'd do exactly that. Of course, you can go a lot further than that, either by opting for the plushest S-line trim level that we've been trying here, or by perusing the lengthy options list. Many A1 buyers will be doing both. S-line level gives you that firmed up sport suspension setup, plus xenon headlamps with LED daytime running lights and LED rear lights, even larger 17-inch alloy wheels, special S-line exterior styling and interior detailing, and leather and cloth combination upholstery. Beyond that, just as with the Mini, there's a huge options list from which you can personalise your car. Let's start with the aesthetics. On the three-door version, you'll want to consider specifying a contrasting paint finish that runs across the top of the doors and down the A and C pillars. It really lifts the appearance of the car, though be aware that some body colours prohibit this option. Buyers of this 5-door Sportback model must have a more restrained look, but they can still order a contrasting coloured roof. If you want to go further, there are numerous vivid paint and trim combinations, even Quattro Rally-style decals. Some of the gaudier options though, particularly the brighter interior trim packages, will make your A1 difficult to sell on. Less controversial extras include leather trim, climate control, keyless entry, an acoustic rear parking system and a thumping 14-speaker 465-watt Bose audio setup. We'd also want the Audi phone box option that can connect your smartphone handset into the car aerial for better reception, and the optional luggage package which features divided storage compartments under the loading floor. If you're a keen driver, you'll also want to consider the adaptive damping system that enables you to set up the suspension to suit the road you're on via the auto and dynamic modes of the Drive Select system. You might need this option too if you specify the largest 17 or 18-inch alloy wheels, as they really firm up the ride. Before going too far with niceties of that sort though, we'd want to look at the tech pack that includes a higher resolution colour infotainment display via which you can access an MMI navigation plus sat-nav system linked to a 40GB hard drive. Plus there's the Audi music interface that allows you to connect iPods, iPads and iPhones into the stereo system. Best of all, Tech Pack customers now get all the benefits of the Audi Connect multimedia setup that can bring a whole range of internet-based services into your car. This is a system that allows you to stay fully networked on the move, giving you everything from weather information to news online, parking info and fuel prices. There's online media streaming that allows you to connect into thousands of global radio stations, a traffic information online setup that warns you of impending queues, and the opportunity to create in your car a Wi-Fi hotspot into which you can connect your mobile devices. You'll also be able to navigate using Google Earth and Google Street View, and plan your trip in advance via Google Maps on your PC, then forward directions to your car. Away from infotainment, it's also worth considering the design pack that gives you privacy glass, an LED interior light pack, power folding mirrors and a panoramic sunroof. Or the comfort pack that gives you cruise control, auto headlamps and wipers, plus useful active driving safety features like an auto dimming rear view mirror and high beam assist headlights that automatically dip themselves at night in the face of oncoming traffic. Beyond this, though, there's a surprising absence of the kind of optional camera-based safety features that some of today's smarter superminis are beginning to offer at extra cost. Things like collision avoidance and lane departure warning systems. Still, you do get a clever secondary collision brake assist feature, a standard across the range, there to automatically brake the car after an impact to make sure you don't go on to hit something else. Talking of braking, if you slam on the anchors and activate the ABS system, there's a brake assist setup to reduce your stopping distance and the advantage of automatically activating hazard flashes to warn motorists following behind. Otherwise, the standard safety provision runs to the usual expected things, though you'll have to pay extra if you want a proper spare wheel rather than one of those fiddly tyre repair kits. And you only get a hill holder clutch that stops you from drifting backwards on uphill junctions if you opt for the S-tronic auto gearbox. All A1s do, though, come with ISOFIX child seat fastenings, tyre pressure monitoring and twin front, side and curtain airbags. Plus there's an ESC stability control system that now has an interim sport setting that relaxes intervention a little when you're in a sporty mood. Audi has certainly gone the extra mile to keep this A1 at the efficiency forefront of the supermini segment. You get a stop-start system, of course, to cut the engine when you don't need it, stuck in traffic or waiting at the lights. And it'll help that this improved model's drag factor is slightly more slippery at 0.31 CD. Buyers get the option of one of the lightest auto gearboxes in the world, the compact 7-speed S-tronic unit weighing only 70 kilos. And they have the chance to specify a drive select system, offering an eco-conscious efficiency setting that focuses all of the car's systems on saving energy, tweaking the air conditioning, softening the throttle response, and altering gear shift timings on S-tronic automatic models. There's also a useful efficiency program in the driver information system trip computer on the dash. The key changes with this improved A1 model lineup, though, lie under the bonnet. All the engines on offer combine fuel injection and turbocharging, and all are either new or fundamentally redesigned to meet Euro 6 emission standards, with fuel economy improved by up to 10% across the board, despite increases in both power and torque. This is thanks to updates that include lower friction internal parts, better thermal efficiency, and the addition of electromechanical power steering. And of course, the addition of a completely new engine at the bottom of the range, the company's very first 3-cylinder petrol power plant. A 999cc unit weighing just 88 kilos, but punching firmly above its weight when it comes to performance. Despite that, the running costs of the 1-litre TFSI variant in question look promising. Manual models delivering 67.3 miles per gallon on the combined cycle and 97 grams per kilometre of CO2, figures that fall only marginally to 64.2 miles per gallon, 102 grams per kilometre if you opt for S-tronic automatic transmission. It might be enough to make some buyers think twice about stretching up to the 1.6-litre TDI diesel variant, though that does still hold a significant running cost advantage, thanks to substantial improvements when it comes to fuel and CO2 returns. This version now goes around 6 miles further on the combined cycle, registering 80.7 miles per gallon. It's also 7 grams per kilometre cleaner than before, the CO2 figure improving to 92 grams per kilometre. As with the 1-litre model, there's a penalty of around 5% if you opt for auto transmission. And as with any car, remember that you'll take a further hit if you specify larger wheels. Otherwise, for A1 buyers, it's a question of choosing between the two 1.4-litre TFSI petrol models. The standard 125 PS unit delivers 57.6 miles per gallon and 115 grams per kilometre in manual guise, but if you were looking at a high-spec variant of that car, it's also worth checking out the very clever 150 PS 1.4 TFSI COD petrol version. Here, high-tech cylinder-on-demand technology sees this 4-cylinder engine running on only 2 cylinders at low to mid throttle speeds, something Audi claims will cut fuel costs by up to 20% if matched with a moderate driving style. Official figures suggest that an A1 fueled by COD technology will manage a combined cycle figure of 58.9 miles per gallon and 111 grams per kilometre, readings you can almost exactly duplicate even with the S-tronic auto gearbox fitted. For completion, I'll also give you the returns achievable by the S1 Quattro hot hatch variant. Around 40 miles per gallon on the combined cycle and just over 160 grams per kilometre of CO2. Figures that are almost identical to those of Audi's larger S3 model, which isn't surprising since apart from a software tweak, the two cars share exactly the same engine. Are these returns class competitive? Well, that depends on your perspective. True, you would get 7 or 8 miles more from every gallon while putting out around 15% less CO2 in a similar size Ford Fiesta ST, a Peugeot 208 GTI or a Mini Cooper S. But then these are less powerful two-wheel drive models. They're also cars that will depreciate much more heavily. What else? Well, as usual with Audis, low benefit-in-kind taxation ratings will be a major draw for company buyers, as will the fact that depreciation remains class-leadingly slow, which means that as long as you can afford the initial outlay and don't go mad on the options list, this A1 is probably going to work out as cheap, if not cheaper, than almost anything you can consider in the supermini segment. Further assistance here is provided by the affordable Audi Complete service and maintenance packages that can take care of all your service and maintenance needs. And optionally your tyre needs as well for up to 3 years. Plus there's a choice of either long life or fixed inspection servicing regimes, depending on whether you plan to cover either more or less than 10,000 miles a year. On to the warranty, which covers you for unlimited mileage in the first 2 years of ownership and for up to 60,000 miles in year 3. It's possible to extend this cover into 4 years, 75,000 mile or 5-year, 90,000 mile packages at extra cost. That only leaves insurance groupings. To give you an idea here, I'll tell you that the 1.6 litre diesel is rated at Group 19E. The 1.4 TFSI 125 PS model is rated at Group 21E. The 1.4 TFSI 150 COD variant is rated at Group 25E. And the S1 hot hatch model is rated at Group 33E. If you've ever wondered just how much style and luxury is really possible in a really small car, then it's worth trying one of these. In distilling the essence of Audiness into something this compact, the German brand has set this A1 apart in the supermini segment, offering a balance between sportiness, quality and comfort that rivals are still struggling to match. True, groundbreaking technology isn't on the agenda here, but as Audi has already discovered, there's a place for that, and it probably isn't in this very price-conscious sector of the market. What's more important is that if you climb out of an expensive A4 or A6 into an A1 costing half as much, the feeling is very much the same. In fact, that's even more the case with this improved model with its smarter finish and high-tech Audi Connect infotainment options. All right, so in overall terms, the revisions made to this supermini aren't especially far-reaching, but then they didn't really need to be. There's still nothing else in this segment that's quite as polished and premium. The A1 then remains a very expensive feeling car that for you may well be just about affordable. Exactly as Audi promised.